Ho, ho, ho. Welcome to the last episode of Season 1 BroMob. This is Championship Week. Should be, at least. Week 16 should be your championship week. We've talked about it all season. This is where the grown-ups come to play. Not week 17, when people are going and taking naps and they've already won their conferences, right? This is week 16. People are still fighting for that first seed and everything. So you still got some good plays out there. This is where all the grown-ups play, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome in, trickle on, BroMob. We've got our last episode of Season 1. We're on episode 52. This is incredible, Brian.
Yeah. Mama and Papa Bear, this is what we did to get here. This is where the big dogs play. 52. Feeling good. Just I'm excited because A, it's championship week. B,
yes,
I got some teams in the big game. Okay, and C, I'm just excited to be here. But also,
you don't have one team.
Well, that's
in the
true.
Big game.
You knocked me out by 2 points last night in the league of record. Michael Thomas and Drew Brees. Man,
best.
You guys are good. Oh, good heavens!
I got me a good stack.
Yeah, that is that was not fun. I thought I had it for sure. You needed how many points?
51 points, and I got 53 out of them.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, yeah, I'm excited. It's championship week, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm sad because this is the last episode, like you said, of season 1, Chad. So, BroMob, Chad and I are going to take some time off here through the holidays, as you should as well, once you win that championship game this week. And then, then we're going to be back not too long after the new year for more fantasy football pleasantries into your earlobe.
Earlobes. Not the drums, but the lobes themselves.
Yeah. I'm talking to you, guy.
Low.
That's talking to you, the one guy that has just one headphone in the left ear. You. Okay? Speaking to you.
That guy.
Yeah.
I don't think you know what a lobe is. It's the bottom part, which has nothing to do with the sound that you hear. So.
Yeah. Into your ear orifice.
Ear hole.
Orifice. Your orifice.
Ear hole. Yes. So, BroMob, we're taking that time off. We're going to be releasing an article with our start and sits for week 17. If you are, in fact, one of those very few leagues that still has their championship games on that week, we're sorry it's still like that. We hope you change your ways because you should. This is where it's fun. And this week, not the next week. So we'll still release an article. We'll post that all over Twitter, Facebook, wherever we are on social media. That'll be out there for your eyeballs on our website. So let's get into this episode, though, Brian, because this is the make it or break it, destroy it, and rake it episode. What came up with that on the spot?
No, that was not written down. And you're right. This is the make it, break it, rake it, spot it, slap it, bong it, clap it. What? What was that toy back in the day? Bop it?
Bop it, yeah.
Pass
and
it.
And then when you did something wrong, it would go, ah! It would just scream at you.
That's right. Well, hopefully that's not the sound your fantasy team's making this week, as you don't want to be getting bounced out of the championship game. So I'm ready, Chad. Let's do this.
All right, let's get into it. But first, be sure to follow along after the show by following us on Twitter and Instagram at FF Bros Podcast. And be sure to search that hashtag BroMob for all kinds of helpful advice. Let's get right into it. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. Not so much of a ho-ho-ho, because this is not a present. Chris Godwin, we mentioned it in yesterday's show, but we're going to bring it up again in case you missed it. Will most likely be missing this coming week with a hamstring injury. He didn't practice in any practices today, so it's just kind of reassuring that he will not be there. So it's the Brashad Perriman show, ladies and gentlemen. Go and get him off of waivers. We talked about him for quite some time yesterday in yesterday's show. So go out and get him if you have Chris Godwin. You're missing out on that. A couple players hitting IR this week. I mean, they weren't playing to begin with, but there was a little bit of hope that maybe they would come back. Matthew Stafford, season-ending IR. Takes away any of that thought that you might be able to play him in your championship game and get some nice points, It kind of makes it for a risky start with our smooth Jazz playing Kenny G, Brian. I don't like David Blue. I mean, he's a vampire sucking the life out of that offense.
Yeah, it's not a bad analogy, that's for sure. I'll talk about Kenny G later in the show.
Mm-hmm. Another player going on IR, Evan Ingram. This was actually a little bit surprising. It's people that have been holding out hope, keeping him on the rosters in case maybe he decided he wanted to come back at some point this season. At least now he's not coming back. He's on IR, ends his season effectively, and you're not going to be getting him for that championship game. So sorry about that one, BroMob, but he ain't going to be there. The NFL has officially suspended Josh Gordon indefinitely, which unfortunately with another failed PED substance abuse test, it's just same old story, different city for him. So it's a bad ending to a talented receiver.
Yeah, it looks like maybe why answers as to why the Patriots let him go after all. And it's sad. I when I first read it, my initial reaction was, that's too bad.
It is.
Addiction is definitely an issue in the world we live in today. And Chad, I know I speak for both of us. We hope Josh Gordon finds the help he needs. So while we're on the subject of this, I mean, what do you think this does for the passing game for Seattle? I mean, my initial reaction is guys like Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf definitely going to see an upgrade there. Is there anybody else, Chad, on the offense that you see, or is that kind of the extent of it?
I like Jacob Hollister. Seen a little bit more targets as well. I mean, Josh Gordon was kind of getting used all over the field, really. So he was just another mouth to feed. So take away those targets, put them across the field. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Jacob Hollister. I like those three. All right, and let's finish it off with our last little bit of news here. As mentioned in yesterday's show as well, we wanted to make sure that, BroMob, you heard this again in case you didn't. The Panthers are expected to start rookie quarterback Will Grier with the Carolina Panthers. So this is something, it's an unknown getting thrown at you here in championship weekend. You don't know what you're going to get out of him. So it kind of, I don't think that hurts CMC at all. Who I think it hurts is DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel, the guys he's throwing to, really. It's kind of an unknown. DJ Moore has been getting targeted heavily. Curtis Samuel getting used in like a specialty role, getting touchdowns out of that. But I mean, with Will Grier coming in, it could doom them this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not willing to take a chance. I don't want to see with Will Grier at quarterback throwing to one of those wideouts. The only guy I'm willing to play on this offense is Christian McCaffrey. That's it.
Yeah, there's just so many better options out there for you, other than taking the risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, BroMob, that is it for the news this week. Let's get right into our championship starts and sits.
I'm ready to go in, Coach. Just give me a chance. I know there's a lot riding on it, but it's all psychological.
All right, starting it off with my quarterback of the week. I'm starting Matt Ryan against Jacksonville. Listen, he came out and he proclaimed that the team's playing well, and they want to keep Dan Quinn as their coach, as their head coach of this team, and they're going to keep playing tough so that they can keep him there. Matt Ryan, I still believe will throw a ton in this coming game, and Julio Jones, who's getting more involved in the passing offense because players like Calvin Ridley are gone. Mohamed Sanu's no longer on the team, of course, so you got to throw it to Julio. So Julio is taking over games in the passing game. Matt Ryan is finding them, and it's really helping this offense out. I like Matt Ryan against Jacksonville, who's been struggling on defense. Every once in a while they'll do well, and then they won't do well. So I'm taking a chance on Matt Ryan this week. I don't normally bet on him, but I'm going to bet on him.
Yeah, Chad, I'm going to start a guy that has been my dude for a good chunk of the season this year, and that's Jameis Winston. Here, let me read you a stat line. 914 yards, 9 touchdowns, 66 fantasy points. That's Jameis Winston's last 2 games. That's insane. I just don't see this week being much different. They're at home against the Houston Texans. I say stay in the flames with Jameis Winston this week. He's going to win a lot of people championships, especially this week. So the guy's on pure fire. You just gotta roll him out there. So Jameis Winston, I'm all in.
Yeah, Brian, I like that a lot. Let's get right into our sits just right away. This is a guy I'm a little worried about. In his championship game, big name type of guy that you want to start because you feel like he's just going to erupt for you. But I'm sitting Aaron Rodgers against the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota, and I'm not too worried about it. I mean, there's better options out there, BroMob. With Aaron Rodgers, the last time that these two teams met, it was a really good game. I mean, these two teams, they were fighting to see who's better, right? I see that happening again, much more of that dominating type of game, very close type of matchup. Aaron Rodgers, though, did not have a good matchup against them. I believe it was something like 14.3 points against them in their last matchup. And I see much of the same. The team more so relying on Aaron Jones as opposed to Aaron Rodgers in this game. So I'm not starting Aaron Rodgers. I'm staying away from it.
Chad, let me ask you a question. So how many games has Aaron Rodgers had this season with 15 or more fantasy points?
I'm going to go with 5.
That's a good guess. It is 5. Okay. I'm also going to ask you another question. How many games this season has Aaron Rodgers had more than one touchdown pass?
Ooh. 9.
6.
Ooh. Oh,
that's
no.
insane. That means he's had 8 games of 1 or less touchdowns. He had 2 games with no passing touchdowns. He's only had 1 rushing touchdown on the season. So, Aaron Rodgers, just look, at this point, you know what the team is. The team is what they are. They're a running team. They run the ball. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I see them doing that against Minnesota. That's what they're going to try to do. That's what they did in week 2. And I don't see them changing that game script. You now know you have a template to look at for the head coach LaFleur, and so I think you know what you're going to get. So I'm not starting Aaron Rodgers by any stretch of imagination. I'm with you on that. Chad, let me get into my sit, and it's a guy I really like. I've liked him all year. I liked him before the season started. We talked a lot about him. I thought he was like a wild card quarterback that you could get deep in the draft that could really win you a lot of games, and he has done that this year, 100%. He's the top 8 quarterback on the year, and that's Josh Allen, quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. Are they on the road or are they at home?
They're on the road. They're going to Foxborough.
Okay, so they're going to Foxborough, so they have to go on the road against the Patriots defense. Here's what he did the first week. Okay, he amassed a massive 153 yards through the air, 26 yards on the ground, no touchdowns. But he did throw 3 interceptions.
Oh, okay.
Now that was at home. Now they're going to New England, and the Patriots are fighting for home field advantage. They need every win they can get. Here's my analysis for Josh Allen this week. Nope. Not doing it. Just one word. Nope.
All right. Very
somebody
deep.
BroMob, if somebody offers you a Josh Allen out there, they're like, hey, you want one of these Josh Allens? Nope.
You just open up an imaginary jacket like you were you were trying to sell something in the alley.
You want one of these Josh Allens? Nope.
You want one of these Coca-Colas?
How you go, you walk into Best Buy and they're like, hey, can I help you find anything? Nope. I'm good.
Walk right past. It's Josh Allen talking to you at Best Buy.
Josh Allen's like, hey, you need anybody for fantasy this week? Nope.
Going right towards Jameis Winston. I'm going right to Matt Ryan.
Past Jameis Winston can be found past the Aaron Rodgers and just before you get to the Lamar Jackson.
Love it. Brian, who are you starting at running back this week?
Yeah, so my running back pick this week is a guy that I feel like he's the forgotten back of late. And he came back from injury last week and wasn't really able to play up to snuff all that much. And that's Marlon Mack of the Indianapolis Colts. They're at home against the Carolina Panthers. And the Saints ran up the score pretty quick, Chad. And Carolina's the worst in the league against running backs this season. So I just see Marlon Mack getting a lot of touches. I think he's going to be heavily involved. And this is a game I really like Marlon Mack. I think he's going to be game planned in heavily. So I would definitely get Marlon Mack in your lineup if you're struggling at running back or you need a good flex play. I think Marlon Mack is about as good as you can get.
Yeah, I'm there with you, Brian. I had a 1A, 1B type of situation, and Marlon Mack is my 1B this week. I mean, Carolina has allowed the most rushing touchdowns this year to the running back position. I think it's 12 weeks in a row now that they've allowed a rushing touchdown in the game. Like, that's ridiculous. So you're pretty much guaranteed a touchdown on a Marlon Mack. It's so safe, but also at the same time, the ceiling is so high. I love it. But
I look at it like this. Marlon Mack, he's not going to give you a 30-point game. Like, he's not going to be.
He could. I
don't
see
know.
it.
I mean, can anything happen? Sure. I mean, I get that part, right? But I think the ceiling's capped a bit. I mean, he put up 25 points week 1 against LA. He's yet to top 20 points again all season. Mm-hmm. So, he's not as involved in the passing game as he needs to be, which was the gripe of him going into the season. But he is getting the touches on the ground. Like, he's getting the ball handed to him. He's getting the touches for rushing, and that's his appeal. So I think Marlon Mack is definitely going to be a good play, and I think his floor is nice, right? I think he's probably got a floor. I don't know. I would say probably 8 to 10 points on a floor, and if he gets that touchdown, it's probably mid to high teens, which is kind of on his great games this season where he's been. I mean, when you look back on it, 16.9, 15.5, 16.3, 15.8. I think that's your good game from him.
I think a great game from him, though. I mean, if he can get 2 touchdowns in the game.
That's true.
I think his ceiling is 24 points. I agree. I'm not going to go 30 points with him. But I think he can do 120 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Not much, if any, work in the passing game. I could see a 24-point game from him.
That's about as high as his ceiling is going to go. But he's not going to give you that 30-point game like a Christian McCaffrey or somebody like that can do.
Yeah, or like the best running back Kenyon Drake can do for you, right?
Best running back in the league.
All right, let's talk about my 1A, though, because Marlon Mack's my 1B. My 1A, Joe Mixon against Miami. I mean, Mixon was able to just run for over 5 yards per carry against the best rush defense in the league, New England. Shocked me completely. Did not expect it to happen at all. But now he's going to run against Miami, who is the 5th worst team against running backs this season. And I think they're even worse than that. And that's in fantasy football. I think they're worse, and I think the reason they're worse is because teams run it up so high on them, and they're throwing the ball so much that people just take their running backs out of the game, and they just start giving it to other players that don't do so well. Second string running backs, third string running backs, and they don't get as much yardage. They don't get any touchdowns. So, Miami could be even worse than the 5th worst team. I really like Joe Mixon against this. He hasn't seen any fewer than 16 total touches in a game since week 10. And in the last 2 weeks, he's had over 20 carries. Not even passes, but carries. He has been absolutely going off in terms of workload. And I just see the workload continuing against them. Pair that with a team that can't stop the run. I see a lot of yardage, some touchdowns maybe, one through the air or on the ground. 1 touchdown, I think, guaranteed for Mixon.
Yeah, Chad, absolutely. On the sit side of the ball, I'm sitting Todd Gurley this week against the 49ers. Mm-hmm. They're on the road. They're going to San Francisco. I don't know how else to say this. Unless he gets in the paint, he is a bust. That has been his MO all season, basically. He has a good game. He gets a lot of touches and then disappears. So I just look in the biggest game of the year. I'm looking to go all out. I want boomer bust guy. I want the guys that are going to put it up, man. Like, because look, you're not playing for next week. You're playing for right now. This is it's a 1-game season. So pick your best poison, right? I want to put as many points on the board as I can, and he's not that. I'm sitting him. Not only do I think he's a bust candidate this week, I'm pure out sitting him on the road against the 49ers, who were just embarrassed by the Atlanta Falcons last week. They're coming home. They're going to take out that frustration on the Rams. Look, they're going to watch what Dallas just did. No way that San Francisco is going to let Todd Gurley run all over them. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm staying far away from Gurley. And this next guy that I'm staying away from, Devin Singletary, a little bit lesser of a starting running back, more of like a flex option these last few weeks, but he's been consistent. I mean, he's been averaging over 20 touches and 100 scrimmage yards per game the last 5 games. That's consistency that you like to see. He's going up against New England, who just let Joe Mixon run all over them. You're not going to tell me that they're not coming to this game pretty upset that they just let that happen. They are not going to let Devin Singletary run on them. They are not going to let Josh Allen run on them. They're not going to let anything happen. This defense is incredible. I'm just staying away from him in my flex option. There's so many more better options out there for you to pick up BroMob and stream, whatever it is. Devin Singletary just isn't a championship caliber running back in fantasy football this year. Or this week, I mean. All right, Brian, let's get into our wide receivers here. I'll start it off with my start. And it's a guy that whenever we sit him, he goes off. So I'm hoping that because we're starting him, he doesn't what am I saying? He's not going to put that up. I don't know what I'm saying right now, Brian.
You're hoping for the inverse result. Oh, God.
I want him to explode, and I think he will. Cortland Sutton against the Detroit Lions. Look, last week, even with Drew Lock completing less than 50% of his passes, Sutton was able to catch 4 passes for 79 yards, and he could have had a bigger game because he was targeted 10 times in that game. I don't know if you watched it, but there was some really great defense played on him. I mean, he had some opportunities to come away with a catch, and I've seen some defensive back plays in that game that they came in and they just ripped that ball out last second while he was coming down to the ground. So really good defensive effort there by Kansas City this past week, but Detroit just isn't that team. I mean, they got absolutely demolished by Rashad Perriman. Not saying that Perriman's a bad receiver, but I'm not saying he's a good receiver either. Cortland Sutton is a good receiver, and he's going to tear this defense up. I love him. Put him in your lineups with confidence. It's such an easy start. Just put him in BroMob.
Well, BroMob, I'm gonna start a guy, and I do hope that he actually does well. Unlike my counterpart here, and that is wide receiver Amari Cooper of the Dallas Cowboys. They're on the road against the Eagles this week. I'm hearing 40-degree temperatures, sunny, perfect weather for a December game in Philadelphia. What? But this is kind of a duh start. Honestly, I get it. He had 5 catches for 106 yards in the last game. Did not get in the end zone though. This game's for the playoffs, Chad. Like whoever wins this game's going to the playoffs, basically. So not basically. I think it's quite literally. So I mean, I think he's going to show up, and I see kind of the same stat line and likely a touchdown or 2 in this game from Amari Cooper. I think he's going to be a big factor.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that Amari Cooper just doesn't have a good game, Brian, because I mean, J.C. Watner coming up against me, the comeback kid, looking to get a victory. He's been talking smack for the last 5 weeks in the Underground League. I need Amari Cooper to not do good, but I'm with you. I think he does good against this just incredibly terrible Philadelphia Eagles defense.
Well, I need Cortland Sutton to not do good. Okay?
Ooh.
So, because he's going up against me in League of Record. So, how you like that?
So you double whammied me here. You're like, all right, Cortland Sutton. I'm putting in Amari Cooper.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Eat it.
Yeah. Bad juju. Thank you so much.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with my sit, and I was a little iffy on this one, but the more I looked at it, I was like, you know what, I can't do it. Julian Edelman, I get it. Going up against Buffalo, he basically gets 10 targets every single game. And can catch every one of them if he wanted to. But at the end of the day, he's going up against Buffalo, who is one of the best pass defenses in the league. They're incredible. They just made Pittsburgh look silly. I get it. It's Duck Hodges. But at the same time, this defense is incredible. Tre'Davious White is for real at the cornerback position. And pretty much everywhere that you look, they are stacked. Their safety position is great. Their defensive backs are all great. Julian Edelman, I see a lot of dump-off passes. I mean, Tom Brady for the last, I think it's 5 or 6 weeks now, has been averaging less than 5 yards per pass, Brian. That sounds like running back stats. It's not looking good. So Julian Edelman's going to be seeing a lot of dinky-dunky type of passes. You might get some points from catches from him, but you're not going to see much in terms of yardage, and he's pretty much starting to lose some touchdowns as well to N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry's starting to become more of a red zone threat, getting a lot more targets there at the end zone. He's very acrobatic in the type of plays that he can make. So I'm staying away from Julian Edelman because there's just a lot of risk there, and I don't like risk in the championship game.
Yeah, Chad, and I'm sitting wide receiver Kenny Golladay of the Detroit Lions. They're on the road against Denver. You just talked about this game a little bit ago. This is more of a temper your expectations play. I don't know if you can actually sit Kenny Golladay, but if you're going to play him, he, to me, is going to be a guy with a little bit of a higher floor, low definitely a lower ceiling kind of guy this week, in my view. This Denver defense is legit. It's a really good defense, and it's tough to win in Mile High. They got to go, especially this time of the year. It's cold, windy. They got to go to Denver. It's gonna be a tough. It's gonna be a tough game for them. So I don't. And plus, you've got Vampire Blue throwing the ball to him, and I just I'm not sold. So if there are a lot of really great options out there, I might look elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm with you, Brian. I definitely think there's better options than Kenny G. So, BroMob, look elsewhere immediately. All right, BroMob, that is it for our starts and sits for the championship week. Let's get into our sleepers.
Sleepers.
Starting off this week, I've got Will Fuller, wide receiver for the Houston Texans, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look, Winston's been slinging it like Uncle Rico all over the place, over the mountain. Brian just read off the stat line to you. It's ridiculous. I don't need to say it again. But because of that, Watson might need to start, throwing the ball a whole lot more too as well to keep the yardage just on pace with Winston to keep this game in line. Houston's still fighting for that number 1 seed. I get it. They beat Tennessee this past week, but at the same time, if they lose out, Tennessee keeps winning. Tennessee gets the victory there. So, Will Fuller is just one of those absolute take the ceiling off type of players, right? He got targeted 7 times last week. He didn't have a huge game, but you mix together his deep speed, his playmaking ability, mix that together with a whole lot of targets, like 7, and that's a dangerous combination. All it takes is one play for Will Fuller to just absolutely win you that championship week, and I like it. He's a sleeper. If you have a flex spot that's open, I would be willing to definitely put him in there.
Not a bad play. I'm going to roll my sleeper this week on the other side of the ball on that same game is Brashard Perryman. And talked about him last week, talked about him yesterday. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin this week is the expectation. He has a chance to do monster type things in this game. There's a very poor secondary there in Houston that will be I see Tampa Bay putting points on the board, and I also see Houston putting up a lot of points against a terrible Tampa Bay secondary. So I think this could be definitely what you're trying to describe, Chad, which is a shootout.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be a shootout, Brian.
Busts.
All right, Brian, I hate to say it, but my bust this week is a guy that I need to do well in the Underground League. Le'Veon Bell going up against Pittsburgh, his old team. You would expect him to do well because he's coming up. He's probably got a grudge on his shoulders to do well, to beat his old team. But here's the thing. They are the 4th hardest defense against the rush this year. In fantasy, they're incredibly good just overall in the NFL as well as a defense going up against the rush. And Le'Veon Bell hasn't been too hot this year. In terms of fantasy, he's been doing okay, but he hasn't hit 100 yards rushing at all this season. That won't happen again this week against Pittsburgh, who doesn't allow that to happen to begin with. And I don't see much opening up for Le'Veon Bell. His offensive line isn't good enough to keep this defense from just getting in there quick and stopping them behind the line of scrimmage. It's going to be ugly. I'm debating sitting him in the Underground League. That's how much I think he might be a bust.
Wow, that's impressive. That would be shocked. I'd be shocked if you sat him. But Chad, I'm going to go with running back Derrick Henry, Tennessee Titans against the Saints. So here's the deal. You saw what the Saints did to the Colts last week, a team that has a good running back there, Marlon Mack. They phased him out, ran the score up pretty quick. I think the Saints take away the score or run up the score here quickly on Tennessee as well. And I just think Henry's a guy that you likely have to play him. It's just a tough matchup. And so I think it has bust written all over it. And I'm not if I'm having to start Derrick Henry this week, I'm not happy.
Yeah, I hear you, Brian. All right, let's get into our streamers.
This week's streamers.
Brian, why don't you take it off here?
Oh, giving me privilege.
Yes.
All right. So my streamer this week is, Chad, he's not just any ordinary streamer. He's a special kind of guy. Chad, my rock solid, gold plated, diamond crested, Arnold screaming with fire in his eyes stream of the week is quarterback Drew Lock of the Denver Broncos. He's playing against Denver, if you're not looking at my notes right here.
I'm over here just highlighting it.
Yep. So not playing Denver, I'm an idiot, but he is the quarterback of said Denver Broncos, and they are playing at home against the Detroit Lions. He's only, listen to this, he's only 3.8% owned, so he's out there. So, here's the deal. If by now you've probably got better options on your team if you've made it to the big game, but if you don't and you're desperate and you're looking for a guy to roll the dice on that has the potential to really put up some QB1 style points that could really make or break your week, Drew Lock is that kind of guy. And I really like him this week at home against the Detroit Lions, Chad. Don't you?
I do. And it's probably a guy that you're not looking to start most of the time, right? But because it's a championship game, hopefully you're not one of those people that just you're stuck on the name of a player, because Drew Lock can get you some real points. Maybe you're in a 2 QB league. I mean, we're not all in 1 QB leagues. If you're in a 2 QB league, you're looking for a second guy to start alongside your Lamar Jackson or somebody who's great. Drew Lock has definitely got some really good potential there. So yeah, in 3.8% owned, you could pretty much get him for free, Brian.
Chad, I mean, here's a guy that the last 3 weeks he's thrown these are, I'm going to read you these stats. Like, imagine Drew Lock was not who I just read. I didn't say Drew Lock, but I said, here's a guy that has thrown for 134 and 2 touchdowns, 309 and 3 touchdowns, and then 208, but he didn't get a touchdown. He had 12.8, 23.8, and 6.6 fantasy points. He plays the Detroit Lions this week in a juicy matchup. I like the abilities there. I like the streaming abilities. He also rushes the ball. He can take off with it. 3 games. He had 3 carries the first game, 3 carries the second game, 2 carries the last game, doing about 15 yards a game. So I like what I see in Drew Lock. I think he's got potential. So I'm rolling him out there this week if I'm streaming.
Yeah, I like that a lot, Brian. All right, let's get into my stream here. Another guy who's barely owned, Ryan Fitzpatrick of the Miami Dolphins. I mean, playing against Cincinnati at home, he's only 15.7% owned in leagues, BroMob. And I get it. This is a championship week. You're not looking to play a guy who has a beard that's bigger than most people's bodies. But I'm saying you should. I really like this streaming option. Ryan Fitzpatrick, going up against Cincinnati, as I said before, he's definitely going to put together some Fitz magic, as he can do. The last 4 weeks, he's put together 3 games over 20 fantasy points. And then even the other game was 14.3. I mean, not what you're kind of looking for a streaming purpose, but he was not too far off either. He had 245 yards, just no passing touchdowns in that game against the Jets. But outside of that, I mean, he's 214, 2 touchdowns, 365 and 3 touchdowns, 279 and 2 touchdowns against Cleveland, Philadelphia, New York, all bad defenses, right? Cincinnati is not a good defense. So he does good against bad defenses. I like this matchup. I like Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I like who he's throwing to, Devontae Parker as well. But I really like him in this matchup. You can definitely pull him into 2 QB leagues, start him. But I'd be even as ballsy of starting him as your QB if it's a 1 QB league. If you don't have anybody that's worth a damn, like maybe you have Carson Wentz you're not feeling good about against Dallas, or maybe you got Jared Goff and he's just not good. Ryan Fitzpatrick could be the guy that you're looking for.
All right, Chad, let's move on to tight ends. I'm going to start it off. I'm rolling. I'm going to roll this guy out. I'll wrap the year up with him. And this is going to hurt. I have a feeling, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it anyway. And that's tight end O.J. Howard of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He has been a thorn in our side all season. Yes. They're at home against the Houston Texans. He's owned in 52.3% of leagues out there. He's been such an irritation this year, to be quite honest. But look, go back and re-listen to my whole comment on Brashard Perriman. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. Somebody's got to catch the ball. Yeah. So, why not O.J. Howard? Maybe he gets in the end zone this week. So, if you're streaming, he's a guy that could probably get you the points you're looking for.
Yeah, I like that, Brian. He was actually a guy that I heavily considered, but I really love this matchup of this guy. Jacob Hollister going against the Arizona Cardinals. He's owned in 44.7% of leagues, so he's not that owned. You can probably get him. Arizona has allowed the most points to the tight end position this year. As a matter of fact, O.J. Howard was able to put up a good performance against this defense. I like Jacob Hollister, who actually gets targeted from Russell Wilson and gets used in key situations. Josh Gordon's gone, as I mentioned before, so more targets are open for him. And I like this matchup a lot. Russell Wilson likes to exploit defense's weaknesses. Well, he's got a huge glaring weakness right here with the tight end position, tight end defense from Arizona. I like Jacob Hollister.
Yeah, Chad, not a bad roll. All right, let's wrap it up with defenses, man. I'm gonna roll. Looks like the same defense you're gonna roll.
Yep.
You gonna play that game with me, huh?
I like it. I'm not gonna give somebody a bad answer just because it's different than yours. I think we should just keep the same. Because this is, you know what, Brian? It's a good stream.
That's true. All right, so I'm gonna agree with you on that. I can't disagree with that. And that's the Denver Broncos defense against the Detroit Lions. They're only owned in 18.8% of ESPN leagues out there. And look, they're at home this week against the team that is really struggling to move the ball lately, Chad. You have a third string quarterback on the road in a tough environment against a tough defense. Me likey. Me want Maury.
You want Maury, like the TV show? Like Maury Povich? You are the father.
Yes. Me likey, me want Maury.
That's the best. Yeah, I think it's great. As great as my typo here, I'm not going to repeat it because it's not so good for the children to hear. But I have a hilarious typo, BroMob, that Brian has now exploited and has typed multiple times in there to try and make me laugh. So thank you, Brian, for that. I like the Broncos defense as well, going up against Detroit. Listen, David Blah just can't. I mean, I know it's Blau. His new name's Blah, BroMob. We're not saying it on saying it like we think that's his real name. We're saying it because it is his real name.
Yes,
and that's what we're going to call him from now on. So David Blah, the vampire.
Chad, guess what David Blah's favorite color is? Blue.
You messed up. You should have said green. Miss Lippy's car is green. All right. We're getting way off course here. All right, BroMob. That is going to be it for season 1. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you guys join us for this whole season. We will be back. Brian mentioned we're going to be gone for a little bit. We should be back in 2 weeks. We're going to take the holidays off for Christmas time, for New Year's, and then we're going back to our schedule of 1 episode a week, every week, for the off season. So we'll be talking about things like who we missed on in the off season, who we were wrong about, things along that nature. We'll go ahead and we won't hold back, BroMob. I'll make fun of Brian for all of his terrible picks. He'll make fun of me for being the best in the world ever and for beating him in the Underground League and leaving him to dry. I see your stoic face right now. You have nothing to say in return. I get it. You're sour. I get it.
It's just terrible. Look, BroMob, we appreciate your support this season. If you could, head over to jointhebromob.com, become an official BroMobster. You can keep track of all kinds of cool stuff. We're really going to dial that in heavily this off season, so you want to be a big part of that. Jointhebromob.com. It's where you can get all the great little secret snidbits from guys like me who are champions, and you just want to ignore what Chad says. He just acts like he's a champion.
Okay. We'll see about that. If you're not on Apple Podcasts, maybe you're listening to us on YouTube. We're also on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, the whole gambit, BroMob. Go out there and listen to us while you're taking your commute, while you're going to pick up some food, whatever it may be, you can listen to us in your vehicles. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at FF Bros Podcast, and be sure to check out our website, thefantasyfootballbros.com, for all kinds of articles, rankings, and so much more. Go win that championship, BroMob. We're rooting for you.
Get it, BroMob. Get the chip.